Hey, welcome back everyone to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 907, Black Tech Talk. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust. This is doc in the description of the video for you to follow along with in reference. And let's get started. So today's topic is return to office and the DEI apocalypse. I wanted to touch on this real quick because I know that there are a lot of people who subscribe to us and work in the tech industry and have to return back to office. And so I wanted to make sure I gave my 2 cents on this. And let me just cover this real quick from the street.com. Amazon's new return to office mandate is starting to backfire. The online retail giant's plan for employees to return to the office 5 days a week has led to some unintended consequences. About 2 weeks ago, Amazon shook up corporate America by announcing a major change to its policy revealed in a memo to employees on September 16th that starting on January 5th, 2025, employees will need to return to working in the office 5 days a week in order for the company to deliver the absolute best for customers and the business. However, Amazon's new policy appears to be backfiring as the company's employees are starting to look for the nearest exit. According to a recent survey by the anonymous job review site Blind, about 91% of the 2,585 Amazon employees it polled said they are unhappy with Amazon's decision to return to in-office work 5 days a week. Also, 73% of employees are considering searching for another job due to the new policy. And 32% said they knew someone who had already quit their job, recently applied for Amazon positions, have even reportedly withdrawn their applications in droves due to Amazon's updated RTO policy, according to the recent post on Blind. Unsurprisingly, Amazon's new policy is causing employees to look for work elsewhere, as many have uprooted their lives to fit a remote work schedule, which Amazon allowed during the beginning of the COVID pandemic in 2020. Just last year, in February, Amazon announced that employees would need to return to working in the office 3 days a week, a move that also caused pushback from employees. Amazon's new requirement to work from the office 5 days a week is at least sacking its employees in an effort to avoid layoffs, which can cause silent sacking occurs when a company creates a work environment with unfavorable support from management, etc., to push employees to resign rather than fire them. Let me not read this any further, but I think this is really important to understand. Most people who work remotely, and I'm going to put this through my black lens, it's safe. Safe because you don't have to contend with microaggressions in the office. And so for a lot of black people, especially black men, who have to go into the office, they have to deal with people's microaggressions. They have to deal with the fickle nature of white people in the office. And so return to office for black people is the equivalent of dragging them back to the plantation. And so they don't want to be on a plantation if they can avoid it. And I think what you're starting to see now with this anti-DEI apocalypse that's coming along with the RTO is the fact that the talent that you need to move the needle for you on the metrics, you're not able to retain them. One, because you have a hostile work environment. Like the article said, if you force people to come back into an environment that they don't want to be in, then what happens here is people tend to leave. Okay, Amazon is supposed to be one of those companies that you want to work for Amazon. You want to work for Facebook, Meta. You want to work for Google. You want to work for Netflix, right? You want to work for Apple. But the problem here is the environment is not hospitable to folks who happen to be of melanated color, right? People who may be who consider themselves ADOS or FBA, whatever you call yourself, going back into the office is not the best of choices, especially with anti-DEI legislation. And so I think what's going to happen is that a lot of companies are going to lose their talent, and I think you're going to see a lot of black folks go right back onto the market. You're going to see a lot of turnover start to happen. Now, I think Amazon is overplaying itself here. Maybe they want to weed some people out. I can't imagine that you want to weed that many people out by forcing everyone to come back into the office. I think you're going to lose a good portion of your workforce if you do that, especially some of your more specialized talent that you can't really find anywhere else on the market. It makes it a lot more difficult. And so I think these are really bad moves. Amazon's not the only one doing this. There's other companies doing this, but bringing people back into the office 5 days a week, for what reason, I don't know. Because when you think about being in the office, you're going to have all these people in their cubicles or wherever they sit, and you're going to be on these Slack meetings, Teams meetings, Zoom meetings, and you're going to have all this noise in the background. You're not going to be able to think. It's going to be a clusterfuck, and no one's going to like it. And you're going to have high turnover rates. People are going to cycle in and cycle out. Like the article said, people who have already applied to Amazon are now withdrawing their applications because of this. You know, the tech industry, especially Amazon, and you think about AWS as their cloud business. Software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. The whole purpose of having a cloud business is so that you can have remote services. But if you have people coming back into the office while you have these remote services, it seems like a contradiction to your business initiative as well as your operational practice. Okay, and so I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep this up. I imagine the employee surveys and the ERGs, your employee resource groups, all of that stuff is going to come into play when they start to look at it next year, and they're going to start to see that they're losing one too many candidates in the process. If you haven't applied for Amazon before, especially AWS, you have to go through at least 5, 6, 7 rounds of interviews before you can get the job. So you're talking 7 weeks average before you can even be hired. If you're saying that people have to come back in the office in January and you start losing talent, the turnaround to hire people is going to take 2-3 quarters to fulfill and backfill those roles. I don't see this as a plus for Amazon. I understand that Amazon, all CEOs are treating the workplace as a castle. And they want to feel like kings inside these castles. And what's happening here is when people work remote, especially on Mondays and Fridays, when people don't necessarily come in, the environment is empty. If you're a CEO and you're looking at this, you're like, where is everybody, right? And so what's the point in being a king if you don't have any subordinates up under you, right? And so that becomes a problem. And I imagine that Amazon is paying a pretty big penny for this real estate, in that most companies overbought on real estate for the environment, right, for the business. And so now they have to fulfill these seats because they have to pay per square foot. Some of these places they spend 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, $60 per square foot. And if you have an environment, a workplace that is 100,000 square feet minimum, you're paying a pretty penny to have this environment. You spent all this money on this, but nobody wants to really be in that office. That's usually a tall tale sign that you probably have a hostile work environment and people don't really want to be there. And so the tech companies are supposed to be hospitable to this sort of flexible work culture and this sort of flat organizational structure. I don't know what they're thinking now. I don't know what they're thinking. So let me jump to the other piece here really quickly. This is from Business Insider, but I just wanted to add this piece in here because I think it's relevant. A former Salesforce DEI director is suing the companies claiming racial discrimination. She's not the first Black employee to complain. Just like I was saying before. A former senior director in the DEI unit at Salesforce is suing, alleging she experienced racial discrimination according to a complaint filed earlier this month in federal District Court in Austin, Texas. The complainant, who still works at the company in a different department, joined Salesforce in February 2021. She was hired to lead DEI efforts for the North American sales organization run by Andy Kofoid, who left Salesforce later that year for a leadership role at Databricks. In November 2021, the complainant was moved to the Office of Equity at Salesforce, where she reported to the company's chief equity officer. She worked in the OOE until December 2022. During that time, the lawsuit claims the complainant was tasked with additional work, at one point overseeing the DEI efforts of several business units, hiring several director level reports, and filling in for a managerial colleague on maternity leave. Despite this, the lawsuit claims she was denied a promotion to vice president, alleging that she was held to different standards than her white colleagues at Salesforce by her former boss, the chief equality officer, when seeking that promotion. The complainant later experienced what she described as a demotion when she was placed under the supervision of the colleague whose maternity leave she had been filling in for, a white woman, once she returned to work. This is part of the issue, okay? This is what I was saying earlier. Return to office and the DEI, anti-DEI apocalypse is here. And the idea here for black people who are working in these tech organizations like Salesforce, like Amazon, like Google, like Facebook, Netflix, Amazon, Apple, name your tech organization that's publicly traded, and I can almost guarantee you they're all going through this, okay? They're all going through it. Black people being usurped out of their roles, microaggressions in the office, return to office 5 days a week, return to office 4 days a week, anti-DEI, legislation in place, anti-affirmative action. This is a hostile work environment because we live in a hostile country, a country that's hostile towards our immutable features. This is the reality that we live in. A lot of folks don't want to accept it. This is where we are right now, and I'm telling you, it's only going to get worse. Especially if you let this other joker who was in the office as the president last time around, the last administration, it's going to get worse. Okay, people are getting tired of coming into the office and having to deal with Anglo-Saxon people who have a problem with them, and I think that is going to be the crux. I think you're going to start to see a lot of black folks walk out of these roles, and maybe they might be unemployed, maybe they might go launch their own startup, but the reality is you're going to lose a lot of good talent over these sort of draconian measures, policies to bring people back in the office 5 days a week. I think this is a disaster. I don't see any sort of benefit from it. I go to the office 4 days a week, and I can tell you right now, no one is collaborating more than what they were when they were on Zoom during the pandemic. Okay, there's no benefit that I can see personally where people are coming into the office and they're having a great old time and they're brainstorming and they're doing this and this. I don't see it. I'm telling you, it's not there. Maybe somebody else can chime in the comment section, but I'm not seeing it. And so I would love for anybody to give me their experience in the comment section and just tell me, if you're returning back to the office, what does that look like for you? I would love to know what that experience is like. Anyways, let me get up out of here. Thank you all for joining. Please hit the like button on the way out, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust.